Welcome to the Produce Moms Podcast, where we believe there is a produce mom in all of us. I'm Lori Taylor, founder and CEO of the Produce Moms. For 10 years, I sold fresh produce to over 300 grocery stores in the U.S. And today, my team and I are fully focused on inspiring people to eat more fruits and vegetables. This show is just one of the ways that we hope to inspire you and your family to eat more produce and live a better life. If you like what you're hearing on the podcast, join our community of almost 40,000 in all 50 states and over 30 countries by visiting theproducemoms.com/subscribe. And be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes. Thanks for being here. Enjoy today's show. Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another exciting episode of the Produce Moms Podcast. Today, we have two gentlemen that I have the pleasure of knowing, two guys that have certainly taken the time to get to learn more about the Produce Moms and engage in the work that we're doing. And, I really think that both of these guys, one reason they're so excited about TPM is because each and every day through the jobs that they have within the produce and agricultural industries, they are working towards like-minded missions. So today on the podcast, I'd like to welcome Marc Riggen. Mac is he is the director of marketing for Chelan Fresh. So anyone who follows the Produce Moms, you certainly know the name Chelan Fresh. They're a big part of our partner portfolio. We do a lot of great work with Chelan Fresh. They represent Washington, apples, pears, and cherries. And Mac has worked in the produce industry, you guys, for almost 30 years. So he's truly a wealth of knowledge. He's one of the first guys. We might have a chance to talk about this in the discussion today, but when the Produce Moms was a baby, he was one of the first guys I actually sat down and talked to. It was at a meeting at the National Grocers Association show. Talked to him about my ideas for the Produce Moms and kind of got his feedback in the infancy stages of TPM about what we could potentially do with the dreams and goals I had for digital communications to advance the industry. And then our second guest today, this is really exciting because this is our first podcast where we got two guests. Our second guest is Marc Blake. And I met Marc Blake at PMA Fresh Summit a few years ago. He's got a long-standing relationship with Chelan Fresh. Marc is actually the Vice President of Business Development at the National Dairy Council and also Fuel Up to Place 60. So Chelan Fresh, they pack their apples in Fuel Up to Place 60 branded packaging. So they work with Marc and his team to put together really exciting displays in grocery stores that promote not only fresh produce, not only the Fuel Up to Place 60 program, but just the overall increase of healthy fresh food consumption for children. So these guys have a really exciting thing we're going to talk about. They're getting ready to launch another innovative campaign to help increase consumption and access for children in the United States. So without further ado, I want to welcome two guys that I have a ton of respect for, Marc Riggen and Marc Blake. Hello, guys. Welcome to the podcast.
Good afternoon, Lori, and thanks for the introduction.
Yeah,
thank you, Lori.
You're welcome, guys. So go ahead and introduce yourselves so they know who's who. Marc, you go first.
Great, thanks. Hey, I'm Marc Blake. I've worked for the National Dairy Council, as Lori mentioned. We have a program, Fuel Up to Place 60, that is a program. It's nation's leading in-school wellness program, and it's a nutrition, physical activity program launched by the National Football League and the National Dairy Council, which is founded by dairy farmers in collaboration with the United States Department of Agriculture. We're in about 73,000 schools nationwide, 13 million kids actively engaged in the program, and we're always looking for supporters of our program, and Chelan Fresh has been a great supporter as they have the same goals in nutrition and physical activity as our dairy farmers and the Fuel Up to Place 60 program.
Thank you, Marc. Mac, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our listeners so they know whose voice is whose?
Yeah, sure. Marc Riggen, Director of Marketing for Chelan Fresh. We're a large apple, pear, and cherry shipper in Washington. And I just mentioned large because it gives us the ability to influence, some of the eating habits of young children. And our scale and scope has afforded us some funding and marketing opportunities to drive our products into stores with packaging with NFL to attract kids as part of the fuel part of the Fuel to Play 60. And it was exciting last year that we actually built the world's largest bagged apple display in a retailer in Oklahoma. It was an entire truckload, 1,000 boxes of apples.
Wow.
And Guinness Book was there to record it. So we were able to do that because the retailer recognized the recognition of the local schools and wanted to be community oriented. And so he realized those kids come in and they'll recognize that NFL Field to Play 60 logo and the graphics. And so we would have never been able to do that with just our own private label because no one knows it well enough. So that's been a good opportunity for us to be part of the fuel as the fuel of the Fuel to Play 60 promotion.
I love it. And this is a great example, guys. And for all of our listeners, this is a great example of the different sectors of agriculture coming together in the name of, frankly, childhood wellness, right? I mean, wouldn't you agree?
I coached Little League Baseball for 14 years. And I can tell you, every year it seemed like a higher percentage of the kids were overweight. And I know mothers were struggling for ways to get their kids to eat the right things. And so I think combined with what kids are learning at school with this program and us putting good apples in the bags, that's a good partnership to help moms do what they know is right for their kids, helping them make better choices after school when they come home.
Right. And, I absolutely agree with you. And Mark, I mean, I think it's wonderful that, the Dairy Council and Fuel Up to Play 60 sees great opportunity in doing cross promotions with fresh produce.
Yeah, because it's about nutritious food. It's about the food groups to encourage. I mean, we are very pro-dairy. We are the National Dairy Council, but our dietitians across the country know that it's about total nutrition and fruits, vegetables, whole grains, along with low-fat and fat-free dairy. And a great place to start is in the schools because we allow these students who are the leaders in the Fuel Up to Play 60 program to take the lead on this. And, when you have student peers that are pushing the program, it allows change to happen in those environments. And so that's been a huge benefit. And we've seen the environment change. I mean, 14 million students eating healthier and, 18 million students more physically active through this program. So that's, we're excited. And again, when we have dairy farmers and fruit growers coming together, because again, they're very like-minded in what they do. So it's positive, not only for nutrition in schools, but for the country as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think it is probably important to talk about how, yes, we have something extra special that we're going to talk about here on today's podcast about what the plans are for this season with Fuel Up to Play 60 and Chelan Fresh. But, this is a long-standing commitment and partnership that your organizations have had. Mac, if I remember correctly, this is going to be your 7th year working with Fuel Up to Play 60.
Yep.
That's great. And Mark, you talked about some of these data points, and it's true. That's one reason why I was so excited about having you guys on the podcast. We really want to showcase people here on the Produce Moms podcast that are doing work that matters and the kind of work that is, advancing what the Produce Moms mission is all about, and that is to increase the consumption of fresh produce in the United States. And it's wonderful to see that collaborative spirit with the dairy and the produce sectors of agriculture coming together. I'm chomping at the bit here to talk about what's ahead. So you guys are getting ready to team up and make a huge impact, you guys are going to change the lives of over 9,000 kids in the United States to the tune of approximately 1.3 million annual meals. So Mac, you want to go ahead and tell our listeners what you guys are doing? You've been working together for 7 years now, but what makes this year special?
Well, this year, with the money that we were able to put together last year, one thing I think people on the podcast need to know is none of the money that we generate or put into the program goes to the NFL. And I think that's one of the major things that's different. We've done other programs with a large entertainment company and other different companies, and always it's been about driving license fees to those companies. So what I like about this program is it all goes back into either playground equipment or educational material, PE equipment. So this year we've taken the money and we're going to put these portable breakfast and salad bar carts into schools in 11 states across the country. So that's going to happen around, I think, September. So it's good timing for that. And that's a pretty big investment. I know United Fresh in the industry has been soliciting money from the produce industry to put salad bars around the country. So for us to do this on our own, I think says a lot for the efforts put out by Mark and myself and my marketing team, Lorinda, who's included in that. And so we're excited to really have a place for kids to access those fruits and vegetables and make it easier for the staff that are in those schools to make that work.
Right. So that you guys, what Mac is saying, and they're going to make a difference in 11 states by funding its equipment. Correct, Mac? You guys are funding the equipment that these schools are lacking, and the equipment. These schools have identified like, hey, we are interested in doing breakfast and salad bars, but we don't have the equipment needed to execute the programming. So that this wonderful partnership between Chelan Fresh and Fuel Up to Play 60 is actually going to be providing the equipment to, schools in 11 states. I've got the list of the states here: Arizona, California, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, Michigan, North Carolina, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, and Washington. So all over the U.S. It's not just one region specific. That's all over the U.S. And you guys know that my heart fluttered when I saw my home state of Indiana on the list. So that's very exciting. I hope that I'll actually have a chance to visit one of the schools that's receiving these salad bar and breakfast carts, and get some footage of your generosity in action, so that we can kind of take that as a continuation to this podcast, so people can see that on our Facebook and digital channels.
One of the most requested items are types of equipment, and what better way to get nutrition than a breakfast and salad bar cart, because with Chelan's generosity, like you said, 1.3 million meals served, and we can make sure they have the right nutritious components for those meals. The schools are excited, and so we're excited about kicking this program off, and we'll let you know when presentation dates come up.
That's right. I'm there, so please keep me posted. No, this is very important work, you guys. And one thing too, all of the data about the food insecurities, the Produce Moms audience knows that the work that we do within the schools with USDA school meals is really my top passion. And you guys, right now in the United States, there are more children that are qualifying for free and reduced lunch than not. It's the first time in the program's history. The data and the figures about kids who are coming to school without breakfast are because there's an access issue at home is all the more reason why this work that Chelan Fresh and Fuel Up to Play 60 are doing is even more important, because it's truly solving a national crisis, in my opinion. You guys are taking an actionable step to change a real problem in the United States.
Yeah, I think the great thing about it too is we know when these students are fed breakfast, lunch, they do better on tests. They go to class more. There's a higher graduation rate. But also, just serving breakfast and have this cart that can be used on multiple occasions, breakfast and then a salad bar at lunch. It offers the ability to serve these kids, where they are. They don't have to go to a cafeteria if they don't want to for breakfast. If they're coming in off a bus, if they want to do a grab and go as they come into the school, that they can feed these students to help increase these graduation rates and higher test scores, and even truancy and trips to school nurses that we've seen in some of our research. So we're excited about the opportunity as well. And we know that these are, kind of on trend. It's student centric because it's stuff they ask for. It's things they're used to when they go to restaurants. So I think that's the positive. And that's where working with Chelan has been great too, because we talk about these different ways that we can offer grants, and this breakfast and salad bar cart is going to really meet those needs this year.
Yeah, that's great. So, Mark, real quick, what kind of things what food items typically end up on the breakfast and salad bar carts?
Well, there's a number of things you can do. They have grab and go meals that, and in a school, the reimbursable meal from USDA is the most important. So you can put the different components together to have the right dairy, the right whole grain, the right fruits and vegetables. So, for breakfast, we'd love to see apples, pears, cherries. We always love to see milk. We always love to see, yogurt. There's so many uses.
Right.
You can fruit and dip it in the yogurt. There's just so many ways to eat it, and then these kids are getting the nutrition that they need.
That's great. Yeah, no, I agree. I love that. Just like the Dairy Council and Chelan Fresh are teaming up here, the food items on these carts will be very much the same thing. It's dairy and produce that are typically found on these carts together. So that's why I asked the question, because I wanted all of our viewers or all of our listeners to understand that this equipment is utilized for not just fresh apples, not just dairy products, and your organizations, your companies, you have that joint authentic passion in making sure that children have access to healthier choices and fresh choices at school.
Yeah, and I think the other positive about this is through the Fuel Up to Play 60 program, we have other supporter companies, and one of the cart companies, Hubert, has come to us, and they've made it possible for us to use this type of cart that doesn't have to be iced down. So it's cold pans that keep the food cold. It allows less labor. It's portable, so it can be moved for breakfast and then for lunch for the salad bar. So again, it's using all of our partners in the program and supporters of the program to make this successful in these schools.
That's great. And Mac, this effort, is this in K-12 schools, or is it just elementary schools?
It's mostly elementary schools.
Okay.
That it's going to that we've been told.
Okay, great. Well, so I definitely look forward to showing some more coverage on this exciting part of your 2018 campaign together. It definitely is right in line with the Produce Moms mission, the work that you guys are doing with these breakfast carts. And I want to just emphasize one last time to our listeners, you guys, this campaign between Chelan Fresh and Fuel Up to Play 60 is going to impact over 9,000 students across the nation and help provide over 1.3 million annual meals that are nutrient dense, fresh form, very healthy, total brain food. So this is a very generous donation, and it also carries its weight in gold in terms of impact. So Mark, Mac, any closing remarks that you have for our viewers?
Well, I just wanted to say that it's just time that the companies like ours really take an active role in pushing things to kids. I know that the health message has been beat to death, but it's funny. I find out that some of the things that are so obvious to us are really tip of the spear for people that are in grocery stores. So often they don't know where produce comes from. There's been such a disconnect with our society, which used to be mostly agrarian. Now we're mostly in the cities. And people are anxious to know where their food comes from, what it does for them. And I think there's a move toward treating illness and wellness overall with food versus pills and pharmaceuticals. And so I think that we need to just stay the course. We need to all keep working. I think there's a tipping point that's going to hit soon because what we're doing is truthful and right.
Yeah.
And so I really believe deep in the fact of what we're doing. It's just going to It's going to take some momentum to get there, but we can't quit because if we do, it's a moral obligation I think we have to keep telling our story. Even though we don't have the money that the big food companies do, I still believe truth is on our side.
Oh, 100%. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, on behalf of Fuel Up to Play 60, our partnership with the NFL. We want to thank, Chelan Fresh for, again, 7 years of backing our program, providing grants in our program, helping us to increase access to nutritious foods, physical activity in schools. And it's been a great partnership. We want it to continue. And Lori, thanks for you to having us on today to get the message out as well.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you guys for all your support and empowerment for our ability to do what we do. I mean, I just feel like I said when I was introducing you both, this is bringing together three minds and souls that have, very common passions and purposes with our professional and our personal lives. We're kind of all in this together, and I love the collaboration here, you guys. This collaboration is, to Mac's point, I hope anyone in the produce industry who's listening takes a good look at what Chelan Fresh is doing and how they are collaborating in the name of childhood wellness, but in being innovative enough to do it with, like-minded organizations outside of produce. I mean, it's really, this is unique. This is unique work, and it's impacting a ton of kids' lives. So we cannot thank you enough for the work that you do. Marc, where can our audience go to learn more about the work that the Dairy Council does, as well as the Fuel Up to Play 60 program?
Well, if you want to know more about Fuel Up to Play 60, you can go to fueluptoplay60.com. Or you can also go to the National Dairy Council. Just type in National Dairy Council in your search engine, and we have a lot of access to information and recipes and science and sustainable nutrition opportunities, those type things there.
Great. Yes. And we will also, you guys, make sure that all of those URLs are linked right in our show notes. And Mac, all of our viewers certainly know Chelan Fresh, but please tell us where they can go to learn more about your company and the great work that you all are doing.
Well, everything we do is pretty much contained on our website, chelanfresh.com, and also we have a Facebook page, so there's information there. So, and anybody can always call us. If you go to our website and get the phone number, they can call us and find out what we're doing if they want more details, whether they're a parent or a school staff person or just a general consumer. We're pretty transparent about what we do here.
Well, you guys certainly are, you're on the brink of a very exciting season with your collaboration this year. Thank you so much for everything you do and for the opportunity to share this exciting announcement with Operation Breakfast Cart with our audience. So, and thank you from everyone at the Produce Moms. This really is work that matters, and you're helping to change the way America eats.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Produce Moms Podcast. If you or someone you know would like to be a featured guest, just send an email to lori@theproducemoms.com. We know there is a produce mom in you because there's a produce mom in all of us. Join our community on Facebook and all social platforms. Help us change the way America eats. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.